Want to sit down maybe and speak, or?
Yeah.
Because she's going to need that microphone.
Can you hear me okay? Good. All right, I'm kind of jumping ahead in time. I know we were in the 40s and the 50s, but because I'm going away on a camping trip for the next 7 weeks, I thought I'd jump in. And I'm talking about the years 1965 through 1968. And those were years of turmoil. If everybody remembers, it was the Vietnam War years and the Civil Rights Movement. Both were going on. Economically, it was a time of growing inflation as a way to pay for the effort to fund the war in Vietnam. Also, we were in the middle of the space race. We were trying to land a man on the moon before the former Soviet Union was trying to land a man on the moon. We had race riots in American cities, and the National Guard was called out to quell the riots. And the most popular music at the time were sung by the Beach Boys, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. And in 1967, the year I graduated from high school, there was a total of 475,000 American troops in Vietnam. So you kind of knew your turn was going to come. It was also the year of a lot of war protest rallies, and Muhammad Ali was stripped of his world boxing crown for refusing to be inducted into the U.S. Army. In the Middle East, Israel went to war with Syria, Egypt, and Jordan, and it lasted only 6 days. Once again, in the summer, the cities throughout America exploded in rioting, the worst being Detroit, where they called in 7,000 National Guard troops to restore order. This year was also coined the Summer of Love, when young teenagers smoked pot and grooved to the music of the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and the Grateful Dead. In January of 1968, the Tet Offensive began in Vietnam. There were 85,000 North Vietnamese troops invaded 35 towns, and more Americans began to question the progress of the war. Also in the same month, North Korea captured the American surveillance ship, the USS Pueblo, sparking an 11-month crisis that threatened to worsen the already high Cold War tensions in the region. And then the tragedies of 1968. On April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And 2 months later, Robert Kennedy was killed after winning the Democratic primary in California. So it was a pretty tough time. In Portland Rotary, going through the minutes, there was little mention of either the war or the civil rights movement. The meetings were held at the Lafayette Townhouse. In 1965-66, Vincent McCusick, who later became Chief Justice of the Maine Supreme Court, was the president, followed by Steve Woodbury, and then followed by Bill Money, and then followed by Gene Martin in 68, 69. There was about 230 to 240 members all during those years of our club. Each year the club would have a meeting run by the youth of the Portland High School Interact Club. And we just started a high school Interact Club last week. During those meetings, there was a discussion of the draft and a possible lottery. So the kids were pretty aware of what was going on. There are a lot of good singers in the club. The club had quartets and double quartets. Included in one quartet was Mark Stimson, who became a member in 1967. Also, and there he is. Also, I know Don's not here, but his son Ben is. Also that year was the year Don Lowry joined the club. Also, in 1968-69, and this is a goal to shoot for, we had 25 new members. And what they did is at the end of the year, they had a graduation ceremony for new members of the club. And we had notable speakers that year. The most notable were Senator Margaret Chase Smith, Governor Kenneth Curtis, Attorney General James Irwin, and because Vincent was president, we had Judges Frank M. Coffin and Edward T. Janeau. Also, we had Senator Ed Muskie come, who told us about the Water Quality Act. And it wasn't until 1976 that there was a wastewater treatment plant here in Portland. People used to just, before that, people used to just flush their toilet into Back Cove. You can imagine what that was like. And one other thing, the South Portland Chief of Police came and spoke about the narcotics problem, an issue of great concern today. And that was what was happening in Portland Rotary during those years.
Thank you, Bruce.